Hello, guys. My name is Chris Gawlinski. I'm the founder and CEO of Prognetics. As a company, we provide team augmentation and manage team services to our customers from our local Polish market and abroad. When it comes to me, I've been programming since I've been 11 years old. And apart from it being my job, it's also an important part of my life. And during my career, I had a pleasure of working with people from all over the world. And I believe that the engineering side is very important, but it's also equally important to understand the business and the business culture. That's why I'm happy to invite you to listen to a series of interviews with experts who will tell us a bit more about business in their local markets. Hello, Jens. It's a pleasure for me to host you here today for the interview.
Yeah, don't worry. It's my pleasure as well.
Just to give our viewers a quick background, you used to build Polish KMD office at which I used to work, but at that time we didn't have a chance to meet each other. And today we'll talk about business culture differences between Poles and Danes. So, not to prolong our introductions, I will ask you straightforward. Are you ready for the first question?
I am ready. Yes.
So, the first question is if you could please tell us a bit more about yourself and your professional experiences, as I believe that they are really amazing.
I don't know if they are so amazing, but I've had the pleasure to work many years in what we in the past called Eastern Central Europe and also Central Asia. So I will tell you shortly about, should we say, my background. My background was that I was educated as an intelligence officer in the Danish army many years ago, where I had a huge interest for Eastern Central Europe because I was especially learned about the Baltics and Poland at that time called the Warsaw Pact countries. So it's before your time probably. When I got the opportunity to work professional with Eastern Central Europe, I was hired by the company Egmont, probably the largest publishing company in Denmark, who have bought all the rights for publishing Disney products, written products in 11 countries in Eastern Central Europe at that time. Why they wanted to establish companies in 11 countries, all the 11 countries with representations who could print and sell the products. And here I met Poland the first time, and I had the pleasure to learn a lot about the culture, how to behave, how to operate and motivate people, and so on, because people were very eager to learn at that time. I have been many times in Poland since then. I have closed one joint venture which we had with a Polish company because in the beginning you were only allowed to have a joint venture. So the existing Egmont Polska is honestly a company I established many years ago, and they publish still a number of cartoons in the Polish market. So it's always fun to see Mickey Mouse in Poland. When I see that, then I remember my time when I was working with Mickey Mouse in Poland. Of course, I also have some funny stories from that time, but we can take that at another time. After my trip to Egmont, then I worked for Ernst& Young for a period of time as a privatization specialist and consultant with the purpose of working in the entire Central Asia out of Uzbekistan, where I honestly stayed 6 years. So I was 6 years in Uzbekistan plus 11 months in Bishkek in Kyrgyzstan. I worked both as a privatization expert, but I have also worked for EBRD and KPMG in the region, and I established Ernst Young's first office in Uzbekistan at that time. And there was a lot of funny things going on at that time. So, as I always say, if people want to hear all my war stories, as I call them, then I can talk forever.
I'm pretty sure of it, but it has to be a great feeling that when you set up Egmont and to see that
It
this actually goes on television and so many people can see
Yeah, and
that.
it's still operating and so on. So it's fun.
Yeah. Um, Next question would be again about Poland, of course, but what impression did Poland make on you when you first came here? I know that Poland definitely changed over the time you started working here, but maybe I'll cut it and then ask the question again because I'm trying to formulate it differently than
Oh, but
I have it written down. So maybe once again, I'll try to ask this question. What impression did Poland make on you when you first came here, and how do you see it now through the prism of all those years?
oh, there has happened a lot of things. First time I was in Poland was in 1989. So you can understand that it was a very different Warsaw I saw at that time. I also remember at that time I was living both in the old Hotel Victoria, which is now a modern five-star hotel. At that time, it was an old Intourist hotel, but I stayed there because we had an office just across the square that is in front of the old Hotel Victoria, over in the Opera building, in the first floor in the Opera building in the behind of it. And there has really happened a lot of things. I also have stayed in a flat in the old town down in on the top floor in the square in the old town. So that was also a fun period when I did that. So yeah, I have felt always welcome in Poland, but I also can see that has happened a lot of things. So first of all, I saw Warsaw develop. Uh, and when I talk about the development, then it's not just buildings that is popping up, but also you saw the intellect, you saw the people who were willing to work and how the people wanted to, should we say, continue to develop all the time. And if you look at all the major cities in Poland, then I have visited many of them. They are all really well developed, and it's definitely people want them to continue developing. You still have, of course, areas that is less developed in Poland, and as I often say, that if you go to the small villages, then you step back in time 20 to 30 years. Or if you go to the eastern part of Poland, then you also step back in should we say, in time. But as I always have said, it is without any doubt that country in the old East and Central European bloc that I have seen that has developed most during the period of time I have visited Poland. And what I really like that is you have so many well-educated people with a broad view on both life and the global world, and that gives a good feeling when you visit Poland, because I really like many of the Polish people I work with and have worked with, because they give me a lot of pleasure intellectual wise, and they can discuss everything. I hope this was a
Yep,
it was a quite long answer. I know that, but anyway, it's still my feelings.
I totally well, I can relate to that because I work at the organization that you built, and I believe that it was one of the couple, or maybe the best company I have actually worked in, or at I definitely top two. So I believe that you know what you're talking about, and you understand well. You know how to leverage people's talent, and you can see that in people, I
No, no,
think.
but I believe that motivation is the key factor in life. So if you are motivated, then you can deliver more or less whatever you want. But you need to have the full motivation. Of course, there's a lot of tools that you can get to do different things, but on the other hand, if you have the right motivation, you can manage a lot. And I think you should give people the opportunities and motivation to deliver, because then they can really deliver excellent jobs. And I have seen it in Poland many times. I was so impressed when we were setting up KMD in the past about the people, and I was really sad when I had to leave it. But anyway, uh, I have to say, for me, Poland is still one of the key areas which I still would like to operate and work in and live in, because I feel that Poland, in many ways, are a gem in Europe which too few people know about. And I think Poland is not very good at marketing themselves, but they could marketing themselves far better, because there's a lot of good things in Poland. Even that Warsaw has just been awarded to be one of the most interesting cities for tourists, and I fully agree. It is a gem where you have forgotten to really marketing it in a way so you can see Poland. And Poland is, wherever I have gone, Polish people are very nice and very easy to work with, and the culture, yeah, is very similar to the way I think. I don't talk about the Danish culture. I talk about the way I personally think.
Okay. Well, the Danish culture, as far as I know, you guys also eat. I don't know how to call it. In Polish we call it schabowy, but in English that would be a pork chop, I believe.
Yes,
So this is a similar cuisine, or at least this one dish.
yes.
Um, okay, moving to another question. Again, the business cultures of Poland and Denmark are slightly different. What was the most surprising aspect for you? Maybe you can tell an interesting anecdote.
No, some of the biggest challenges I have had in Poland, that was honestly the public system, and especially the notarial, the notaries, because we are not used in Denmark to work with notaries. In Denmark, we have honestly only 3 notaries, and that is in each part of the country. And it's
Hmm.
only for certain specific things you need to do something together with a notary. Where in Poland, I know there's more than 70,000 notaries. You see a notary on each corner and so on. And I think it's really complicated to work with them sometimes. I remember when we were establishing KMD, you have to get the rent contract of the building read for you by someone who, where the notary needs to be present so they can listen in and hear that the rent contract is correctly, and blah 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 and so on. And I think it's a very complicated system. And I have a small anecdote. Once I was writing an application in a notary, and I ran out of ink in my pen, and it was a blue pen. And then I continue with another blue pen, and I say blue pen, but it was a little different in the shade. And when I then should deliver it in, the notary wouldn't take it and said I had to rewrite everything in the same color. So it was the same blue color, even that everything was in blue color. It was just a little different shade in the new pen compared with the old pen where I ran out of ink. And honestly, I have to admit, I really learned to be patient there, because you had to be very, very patient sometimes with the notaries. And I cannot understand that you can't do that digital, because there's plenty of digital systems that can, in one way, take care of the same operations.
I believe that this is true because I had the same situations at the Polish offices, so I can understand this. Now it's actually easier. Well, everyone is saying that it's hard to run business in Poland, but actually now you can create it online. It takes, I think, 24 hours or something like that to get a limited liability company, but it is easier, and most of things you actually can do virtually. But sometimes you need to go to the office and see that
Yes,
and show that you are real and you exist. So
yes, and show
I
your
think that they
passport
just
and
like
so
it.
on. No,
Yeah,
but anyway,
yeah,
I think it's definitely one of the things that I have been fighting with in the past many times, and uh, I have to admit that irritated me quite a lot for a period of time. But you get used to it, and you get also more and more patient during such a uh, should we say such an operation where you need to go to the notary.
yeah. Uh, well, another question is a short one, I think, but the answer can be an elaborate one. What can Poles learn from Danes and vice versa?
One of the things that I think Poles could learn from Danes, that is something about the more flat organizational structure that we use in Denmark. And of course, also more modern digital public systems. And I know you are coming forward with that. But one of the big things I think that is a challenge for many Poles, that is that should we say, a lot of the more normal people or the people in the countryside, they are not having a digital education. So you need to have a digital population. We know it especially from Denmark, where when we have been changing a system lately here for, how should I say, approving digital information and so on, uh, then we have had some challenges, especially with older people and not educated people who cannot find out to use the digital systems, even that they are quite simple if you are a digital person. And there's no doubt that the new generations will be far different from that because they are born with a digital phone or a computer or iPad or something in their hands, and I think Poland should learn to take more benefit from the digital age, and maybe the you should use more efforts to educate uh, the common population in using such systems. So one of them is prescriptions, for instance. Prescriptions are more or less digital everywhere in Poland, but still a lot of doctors have to write them out in on paper because people simply want them on paper when they have been by the doctor. And they want to carry the paper down to the pharmacy and get their medicine because then they understand better that they get something, even that you have a digital prescription system where the doctor can just put it into the system and then it will be hitting your pharmacies, and you can then directly go down and just ask for it and give you a parcel number, and then you get your medicine. But there's still a lot of education to be done in regard to that. But many firms could also learn a lot from Poland, especially about dedication and the will to learn and the will to succeed. Because personally, I feel that a lot of Danes are a little too easily, a little too lazy and a little too maybe should we say 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 people, where personally I'm born by, yeah, but you deliver in time, you deliver as agreed, you deliver in the quality and on the budget as you have promised. And that is three parameters that seems in Denmark people are a little too relaxed about, and that is something they could learn from Poland. Finally, I think attitude towards life could be something that people could learn from Polish people. In Denmark, we live in a kind of a bubble where we think that we are the best in the world. We do not really respect other people. We have a lot of different, I will even call it a little bad culture, ways of communicating to each other. And there's definitely not what I call a free speech in Denmark, because most people would never dare to put anything on the internet or on social media, because then they will be afraid of being harassed afterwards. So I feel that in that way, people in Poland are more, should we say, respectful. They have a broader view and understanding of the world, and that is something I think we could learn a lot about in Poland, or in Denmark. So we should we say respected the rest of the world and the population in the rest of the world on a higher level. It was also one of the longer answers. I know that. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, but thank you. I can actually, well, tell you an anecdote about the digitalization of Polish people that I had experienced when I grabbed something to eat earlier. Um, so I was at this shop. Well, just maybe to start, my grandma actually is very digitalized. I mean, she's browsing on the phone, the Facebooks, the managing the bank accounts and everything. So she's actually pretty good at this. But now I had experienced that there was a lady actually at the cash register, and she wanted to pay with cash, and the person that was taking the money from her, the cashier, didn't have the change to give her. So she asked her to, can you pay with a card? And she was like, but I don't know how to pay with a card. I have the card, but I don't know how to use it. Uh, and she was not really that old, but I was surprised to see that, because this was actually like literally first time I saw something like this. That was actually weird, but definitely more education in this area wouldn't hurt. Yeah.
No, and I remember I spoke with the Ministry of. It's just the ministry just left of the Danish embassy in Warsaw. There, I was giving a speech on one time together with them. I think it's is it called something digitalization or something? They are in charge of IT development in the public sector, and there I was talking with them about this, and they claimed that, yeah, but they do a lot to try to digitalize the Polish population. But as I always said, yeah, but it's not, one thing is to digitalize the society, another thing is to educate the people. And I think they honestly have forgotten to educate a lot of people in digital use of all the possibilities that you have in Poland, because most of the things that you have are digitalized. So
True, exactly. As you're saying, I'm using the prescriptions, and I do like them, but sometimes I'm taking also the physical, or I'm asking, because also the doctors prefer to do it electronically, because they are so well integrated that I assume that they have their own program on the computer, and it just integrates everything, so they have full patient history, and the prescriptions right away coming to via text message, for example.
yeah, and nowadays you can get programs that has everything from your X-rays on the computer to also the patient journals, or
Yeah.
and patient systems where you have all the information from the test results taken everywhere, from X-ray pictures and so on. So it is honestly a very digital system, and the private clinics in Poland, they have them. So the public clinics should also have it.
Yeah, well, I'm mostly using the private ones, I will be honest, but they grown so much that it again feels like this is the public one,
Yeah,
because basically everyone has access to them. That's actually pretty good, but it's again hard to get an appointment with a doctor in
yeah.
Poland.
No, but
So
I have also had health insurances in Poland, and I was honestly once in a public hospital in Poland, in Warsaw, for 2.5 weeks,
mhm.
and they treated me very well, and the ambulance that picked me up, they spoke English. One of the people there spoke English, so I got a fantastic treatment, and the doctor spoke perfectly English in the hospital. The nurses did not speak English, but I managed everything, and everything went honestly pretty well. So I cannot complain, even that it was a public hospital. And I know that when I say that to many Poles, then they look at me and say, God bless you, you survived, and so on. And I have to say, I didn't have any problems, but I survived
Yeah,
two and
that's
a half
I
week in a public hospital in Poland, in Warsaw.
I think that's a stereotype, because usually those private healthcares are just able to help you in basic stuff, or the first contact doctor, etc. And when they have something that's actually requires some more, I don't know, advanced knowledge or
Mm.
something, they're saying, okay, we'll transport you to the public one now, or
Okay.
something like that. So the also the public healthcare is very good, but just the waiting time is very long.
Yes.
That's the problem. Okay, moving on. The next question would be: what Polish companies from the IT sector that are interested in expanding into the Danish or Scandinavian in general market should pay attention to?
First of all, I will say I would not recommend any Polish companies to go directly after Danish companies. First of all, Danes are very often a little difficult to work with. They are suspicious. The lead time can be enorm long. I have had a lead time on one company, and I'm even a Dane, and I was representing a Danish company at that time on 23 months. So if I should select something, I would go after Swedish companies, because Swedish companies, first of all, people in Sweden are more used to work with, should we say, companies from other countries. They are more internationalized. They do understand people pretty well. They speak good English in general. They have, should we say, a huge need for uh, IT people currently. And of course, everybody, more or less, you can't find any company all over Europe that is not having a problem to find the qualified resources for the moment being. But anyway, I will say that if I should select and go for Scandinavia, I would start in Sweden and use Sweden as the base, build up in Sweden, and then go from Sweden to the other countries. And probably I would go after also Finland. It sounds a little crazy, but Finland is really missing IT people currently. Also because both Sweden and Finland in the past got a lot of IT people from the Baltic region, and Finland, of course, from the St. Petersburg region, which is the
Yeah.
largest cluster of educational IT educations in Europe. But
Mhm.
because of the sanctions against Russia, they don't work in St. Petersburg anymore. And the Baltic countries are now
Yes.
becoming so expensive that they sometimes are even more expensive than what a similar person cost in Denmark. So in that sense, it is honestly becoming a little more difficult to operate in the former countries. For instance, if you take a country like Lithuania, then the competition for newly educated people is so high that it's really difficult to get them. And if you are a Danish company, then most of the people would prefer to work for one of the more international companies. I have especially worked with the financial sector in Lithuania and Poland, and a company like Danske Bank, which is the largest bank in Denmark. They have moved a lot of their development from Lithuania to Poland because they can't find the people in Lithuania, even that they have a setup with nearly 1,000 people in Lithuania. But because of Barclay and Deutsche Bank are there, then they take more or less everything that can walk and wants to work with the financial sector. So it's really difficult for many companies to be able to really use that, and the people there are now so expensive that it's simply damaging the budgets. So it's both if you look at real estate and as a renting real estate and office space and so on, and also salary wise, even that the salaries has really increased heavily in Poland the last years, then it's still cheaper than in the Baltics.
Well,
And then there's
we
of course a
lately,
lot of
yeah,
benefits otherwise. So one of the benefits is it's of course you can say it's quite easy to get to Denmark because you can fly to Denmark every morning and back in the evening and
yes,
so on. But you can also do that to Sweden, if I remember correct. Nowadays, you can.
yes,
It's not a problem. And if I should select, I have to admit I would probably start in Sweden.
that's actually what we are doing.
Okay, then you're doing it
we
the
might
same
we
way
might be
as
good.
I try to say here. Of course, you can always discuss how should you then do your entry, and
Yeah,
I think the entry strategy in one way can be very difficult because it's hard to start and try to sell, should we say, just out of the box. Maybe it can be
yes,
worth to make some cooperation with an existing IT company who wants to expand and are missing people. So in that way, you could be the link that could support an existing company, and then you can also maybe work with the existing companies, local existing companies sales organization, and they will sell on behalf of you as well, and then they will be able to, should we say, support your strategy in conquering the country. I don't know. There's a lot of opportunities, but you need to think in a way where you make sure that you always, and I say always, deliver in time, in the right quality, and according to the budget, because it's so important for many Scandinavian companies, and they really plan from that those 3 points.
well, I can definitely tell that. Well, you know what you're saying, and you have a very good grasp over the market because a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago we had a call with a person from Finland that is running a technology cluster, and he said the exact same thing, that they were utilizing St. Petersburg for their development purposes, or well, people from Russia, and they were cut
Yes.
from this development powers. So yes, we definitely heard about this, and when it comes to Lithuania, I also heard that the Danske Bank. My friend from Lithuania actually worked at Danske Bank. He was creating a
Okay.
mobile app for them or something like that. So I also knew that they're in this market. So everything is on spot what you're saying. And when it comes to strategy, we are still working on it. We are doing some, or at least trying to do some, let's say, guerrilla growth hacking kind of things.
Hmm.
But definitely we'll try also what you have suggested. Um, moving to another to another question. In your opinion, can the outsourcing of Polish IT employees bring success to both Polish and Danish companies? What are the benefits?
First of all, I'm pretty sure a lot of Danish companies could use people like you and use Polish companies for many things, especially because there's a lack of qualified IT people, and I need to say qualified. because we also see currently a number of larger companies lay off people in Denmark.
Oh.
Now, as you probably know, then I was involved in the GN establishment in Poland as well until autumn last year. And here, one of the key purposes is simply to lay off external consultants in Denmark and replace them with Polish people. Because the external consultants are crazy expensive in Denmark. Even that you sometimes have to use them, then they are crazy expensive. And that's why they are far more expensive than, for instance, a fixed fee timed employee. So in that sense, many companies are for the moment trying to lay off their external consultants and then replace them with own employees. And if they cannot get own employees, then they try to replace them with people from nearshore areas. And Poland is probably one of the closest nearshore areas, also because a lot of Danes, especially from Zealand and the capital region of Copenhagen, they can travel out in the morning and come back in the evening the same day. They don't need to have a stay over during night and so on. So it's easy. On the other hand, there's also the GDPR challenge that we all are running into.
Yes.
There's the SREM 2 coming up now with data, how you should treat data if they have to go over outside European Union. That can be to Asia, that could be to US and so on. And it's very interesting how that will be work. And then there's coming a lot of other new regulations from the EU, where we are trying to build a wall around EU. So there will be a huge lack of people with IT knowledge and should we say competences for the future. So I'm not in doubt that there will be plenty of opportunities, but there's also many companies that say there's only one thing that really counts, that is quality, delivery in time as agreed, and then on budget, on the budget that we have agreed, not sliding on any of these three parameters, because if they are sliding on this, it will be a never-ending story and it will never be finished. Then, of course, there's also people that is a little more, how should I say, cool and say, hey, we try to go after the IT companies that in the past used Ukraine. I have established a company in Ukraine myself, an IT company, the company called SimCorp Ukraine. I established that in 2008. And in that sense, you could go after that, because there's of course a lot of companies that have withdrawn their development capacity from Ukraine, and they will be looking for people who can take care of that. But again, the GDPR question, that is something I run into more or less every week when I discuss with some companies, and that is really becoming more and more important, because many companies don't know how to take care of that if they have operations outside the European Union. That can be in Asia. How can they disguise the information? How can they make test databases without real data? And how can they get maintenance done? And so on. But on the other hand, I have to admit that most companies, unfortunately, often start with maintenance projects where they say, yeah, but we will use the nearshore capacity as a maintenance capacity and not so much as a development or R&D capacity, which I think is definitely wrong, because when I see on the creative brains that I have met in Poland, then there's no doubt that many of these should be working in R&D and not in maintenance, because they are clever. They are, should we say, have a good fantasy, which is two things that for me that is very important when you need to decide things. So the most important part, as I wanted to say, that is that I think there's some opportunities for the moment being, especially because of the European Union requirements on both GDPR, SREM 2, and all the other things that will come in the future. And in that sense, I think companies like you should honestly try to go after some of these smaller and middle-sized companies that have a good footprint already in the market, and have a sales organization that could sell you as the second opportunity. It will also give them a possibility to mix prices and mix teams, and I think that could be a strong one. Of course, you can go after companies that has had a, a setup abroad and in Asia, for instance, in the past. It could be interesting, but as I also said, the companies that had worked with Ukraine could also be of interest. And if that worked out, then you will be able to, should we say, operate faster. And there was, for instance, a lot of Scandinavian companies in Ukraine in the past. As I told you, I have established one myself there. So I would probably recommend to try to do that, but maybe via a local partner in the sector. There's also something you need to know about the Scandinavian market. A lot of companies, when you want to work with them, they look for companies who have industry knowledge. So if you have
Mm.
industry knowledge of certain industries or have done something in certain industries, then definitely focus on that and be able to tell that and say, yeah, but we have worked with the healthcare industry, we have worked with this industry, we have worked with that industry, because people like industry knowledge, because then they believe that you have better knowledge than just in average knowledge. And that is because they want to operate with someone who they can talk more professional with. And when we talk professional in this way, then it's mainly, should we say, industry language.
The lingo.
Yes. So they do understand that you understand the terms that they are operating with, and you understand the business. So one of the huge advantages, as I see, Polish firms have compared with nearly firms from anywhere else, that is that if you look at the way people operate in their daily life, it's very similar as we do in Denmark or in Sweden or Norway or Finland. That means that you have a lot of basic knowledge about the society in general. So if someone wants to deliver something that could be used in the common society, then you have, should we say, the background for talking about it and discussing it and say, hey, this we believe in, this we don't believe in, this we have some experience with, this we don't have some experience with. And that is a really strong issue.
Mm.
So one thing is competences. Everybody can more or less find a .NET person or a Java person and so on. But industry knowledge, that's not everybody who have that. So in that sense, also try to understand before you go into a company, try to understand what is the basic things that they want you to work with if you should work with something for them, and then show that you have the industry knowledge about their industry, because that gives them a lot of confidence in who you are and that you can deliver the product that you promise.
Well, this is something we are still working on. At this time, we are positioning ourselves again as technology experts. I see our
Yes.
value in this, I think, but definitely being experts in a certain niche or to understand the industry is something that we are going towards to.
No,
Uh,
no, but at least when you present yourself for a company or an organization or something, make sure that you know what you are talking about, and you will be able to talk with them about the same subjects as they want to talk about. So investigate them
yes,
well, make sure that you have a good idea of what they are working with and what they could be working with in the long run.
definitely
Come with
noted.
ideas. Also,
Yeah.
nearly all the people I have met in Poland in the IT sector, they are extremely creative, and they think out of the box, and that is something that we miss. We are getting a little too much in Scandinavia. This is how we always have done it, and we need to learn new ways of doing things.
Well, I think that that is actually our benefit that we do, or at least me and our team, when they join the teams of the customer, usually they are able to suggest solutions or propose changes that might be beneficial to their business. Of course, they are not like at any point like forcing it or anything, but they
No, no,
tend to, or I tell them to maybe try to understand the business better of the customer, because then they will get more from working with us. I believe this is the
yeah,
benefit, because essentially when we build something with the customer, uh, we need to deliver value. It's not about if we'll use the newest technology, the new fancy thing, or things like that. In the end, this is a business. We need to build something that will be sold, and someone buys it, he uses it, and likes it. That's it.
yeah, and it should give, as you said yourself, it should give value for the client, and the client are looking for value.
Yeah,
It should either be something he can sell, a product he can sell, or a product he can use together with other products so he can sell his solution. So
yeah.
everything is a question about looking it from the client's perspective. What, how do we create a win-win situation where the client and we get the same out of it?
Yep. Well, Jens, I have a last question. I believe we
Yes.
already said things around it, but what would you advise a company like Prognetics to become a valued and desired partner for Danish tech companies? Apart from what you maybe already said about the industry focus, delivering on time, etc., is there anything else that comes to your mind?
Patient. And then always have a plan and a strategy. So one thing that is a lot of companies, when I talk with companies, that is they say, yeah, but how do I make the transformation process from maybe an existing vendor to a new vendor? So you should be ready on such questions. You should have a
Hmm.
plan ready and say, yeah, but we can take this from the old vendor, but we need to maybe look at your organizations to make sure that we have the right people to take over. So we can do this and this way and blah, blah, blah. So you give a good feeling in the stomach of the people. So always have a plan and a strategy for the entire transformation process and implementation process that you can put up. It can be just some few slides with some words and some graphs and a timeline where you go in and explain. So that is, I love timelines myself. I work a lot with timelines, and every time I work with a company, I try to tell them, yeah, but the timeline we can do is like this. We need to make preparation. We need to do it correctly so you get what you expect. It's always important to sell it. It's for their benefit. It's not for your benefit. It's for their benefit in the long run, and they will gain from it. Understood in that way that they will have a professional and economically benefit of it in the long run. And that is the whole key. Also, it's expensive normally to change vendor because
Yeah.
you have to do some parallel things and so on. So very often it's easier to go after someone who have not had a former vendor Of course, it's easier to get them, but they are also very, very suspicious. They are the most difficult ones to sell to, because if they've not tried it before, then maybe you should also have a plan ready and say, yeah, but sorry, we use 1 day together with your people to explain them the challenges that you can expect. So think very much in what do a potential client wish and need to have a successful project. If they have an existing vendor or if they are totally brand new and so on, what is it that they need for getting success? No, I honestly think you have some good opportunities if you do things correctly. And in that sense, it might be the easiest way to get into the Scandinavian market, that is via a partner. I cannot recommend anybody specially because, as you know, I'm more an advisor and nowadays and use more of my time to advise companies how to do things and do that. But I still see a lot of smaller IT companies who's missing, should we say, people. And by missing people, they're also missing hands. And in that sense, they will not be able to get the products done if they do not get support. And the support could be you guys.
Okay, so I would summarize this in maybe 3 words: that what is important is that we should have trust, plan, and deliver value.
Yes, you can say it in those 3 words, and that is 3 good words. And especially we have discussed that in the past as well. Trust is probably the most important part that you need to take care of, because if people don't trust that you can do what you are promising, then you have no possibilities. So it is built on trust, and that is both that you are trustworthy as a person. That is also the way that you represent yourself when you talk with a company and so on. Also, personally, even that I'm an advisor, I get several calls every week about someone who wants to sell me services and so on. And my goodness, I'm tired of that. And I don't need it. But anyway, I still get it. And I also get requests, couldn't you sell our service to someone and blah, 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 blah. And I have to say to them, sorry, that's not what I do, because if I do that, then I am not independent anymore. And in that way, I want to be independent, because by being independent, I have the possibility to do whatever I want with whoever I want.
Yeah, true. That's the true freedom, actually.
In one way, yes. Sometimes I do miss to work together with someone. I have to admit that, because sparring is also a good thing. It's always good to, as we say here in Denmark, there's in a certain city in Denmark where all the police have a dog, because 2 brains are better than 1.
In Poland, we say that there is always 2 policemen walking because one can read and one can write.
Yeah, probably
So
correct.
it's
More or less the same way.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yes.
So I hope that you could use what I have, my answers to the questions. So yes, it has been a pleasure, and it's always fun to tell my story. I have been asked several times to sit down and write it down. It's I'm sad that I had not made diaries during my many years in the business, because I could have had a lot of funny diaries that I could publish. But sometimes things pops up in my little brain, and memories pop ups, and that is honestly fun. And I'm pretty sure, as I always say, when I get really old, then I have the memories to live of.
Well, the book could be a bestseller, I bet.
Uh, Let's see.
People love those success stories. I can tell you,
Yeah, but
I've read a couple of them myself.
yeah, but it's now it's too long time ago. I have worked with that. So, but that's another story. But there's a
Okay,
lot of war stories.
let me summarize then, or well, and go to an end of the interview itself, or at least the recording. Later, we'll cut it. Yes, on behalf of myself and our listeners, I would like to thank you once again for agreeing to give us the interview. Personally, I am very impressed with your professional experience, and I think that people like you have invaluable knowledge to offer, which one has to build over the years. Basically, this is not something that is happening from a day to day. I'm sure that what you said here will be very beneficial to our listeners and definitely to me. I would also like to thank everyone who watches us, both on Prognetics YouTube channel and on LinkedIn. And I encourage you guys to discuss and comment. Jens, once again, it was a pleasure, and I wish you all the best.
No, but it's a pleasure to talk with you as well, Chris. And feel free to contact me if needed. And all the best. And take care.
Thank you.